welcome to another episode of Sitting with the Sheriff. I'm Saba Long, your host, and I have with us, of course, Sheriff Craig Owens, and we have a guest, Colonel Pete Atkins. Colonel, great to see you. Welcome to the show. Can you give us a little bit about who you are, what you do at the Sheriff's Office?
Yes, Saba. I'm Colonel Demetrius Pete Atkins. I'm the jail commander. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 32 years and just happy to be a part of the Sheriff Owens administration.
So one of the major roles of the sheriff is the detention center. Can you tell us, give us a broad overview? What is the detention center? How many people on average are there? Just give us a little bit more detail.
Okay, currently we hold about 1,800 inmates. We have 431 employees at the detention facility. We just make sure that we're taking care of the inmates in their custody scenario. We process all the inmates for the county, so any jurisdiction that makes an arrest in Cobb County brings their inmates to our jail.
Got it. And Sheriff, when you were first elected and when you were your inauguration, you talked a lot about the detention center, and that was a priority for you.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about why that is, and in particular, the mental health component?
Yeah, thank you. So our citizens entrust us with the health care of our inmates because they're family members for them. So we have to do what's right in taking care of them once they enter into our custody, care, and control. So we thought it was a very important thing for us to make sure that, A, we're providing the best possible service we can for our inmates to come out of the facility, as well as concentrate on our mental health aspect, because that has been a very big concern of ours before I took office and since I've been in office, to make sure we're providing that appropriate care to individuals who have mental health issues. So we've been working very hard to do that. And I think that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, is about our mental health program, which I would like to say is the lead agency in the state in mental health care for correctional institutions right now.
And that health care is 24/7 health care, which had never happened before in the jail. Can you talk about why you did that? And then, Colonel, I'll ask you to just talk about how is it implemented?
Right. So when we looked at some of the analysis based off the last few years of incidents happening in our facility and the time frames and what all was going on, we knew we had to provide a 24-hour health care service for mental health care service weather, meaning mental health care didn't stop at 5 o'clock. People come into jail all times of night and hours, so we had to make sure we had coverage to give them the help they need. So that's why I went back and revamped our policy and got a vendor who can come in and provide that services for us. So we want to make sure we can provide coverage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to ensure that anyone comes in our facility can always get the help they need immediately.
And then what does that help look like on average? Just give us a scenario of a particular case.
Okay, what that looks like is about 23 clinicians that are specifically there for the mental health aspects. What we wanted to do was shorten the gap that there was no coverage whatsoever. So you start out with a psychiatrist from about 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Then you go to what would be equivalent to a PA represented in the mental health care system to
what
about
is a PA?
Physician's assistants.
Got it.
So that person would take your shift from about 5 p.m. to midnight, and then you have nurse practitioners that are specifically trained in mental health that would do that rest of that coverage from midnight to 7 a.m. in the morning. We also have access to a telepsychiatrist throughout those night hours. And this, as the sheriff said, is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. And this is the first sheriff's office, the first detention center in the state that has this level of care.
That's correct.
Great.
So we're trend setting, for lack of better terms. We're right now the model for the state, and we're getting calls from sheriffs throughout the state of Georgia, as well as sheriffs outside the state of Georgia want to come and look at our system, how we set it up, how it's been ran, the cost effectiveness of it. So we're truly becoming a model for the state and beyond the state of Georgia as well in mental health care.
Got it. One of the things I recall talking about with you all is something called a discharge planner. Can you tell us what is a discharge planner and why is that a necessary role?
Basically, what would happen previously is once the courts say you're released, we have no other option other than to let you go. If you didn't have anywhere to go, especially someone with mental health concerns, you would basically be put out on the street. Now our mental health team identifies those people that need that assistance, and then there's somewhere for them to go or a game plan to say to what would happen to them upon discharge. So that's what our discharge planners do. They're working with them from the beginning to the end.
Sheriff, can you talk about why that wasn't, this is all, I'm sure, an expensive program, but can you talk about, to the taxpayer listening that's saying, geez, is that really worth the money? Right? Can you help folks
Well, I
understand
would
the
say
scope of that?
absolutely it's worth the money. I think, again, once an individual come across those, as we say, guard lines, they're in the custody care control of us. And we have a duty to the citizens of Cobb County to treat everyone and give them the best care we possibly can. So I'd rather spend money to do that versus not do that and have someone become worse in our facility or God forbid, even die. And one death is too many. So if we can prevent a death, I prefer to spend the money to do that and give them the right treatment. But overall, holistically, you have to look at what is it doing for our community as a whole. My goal was to, if anyone come into our facility, send them out better than the way they came in. So I'm thinking we're helping on multiple levels to make our community better. But spending money, sometimes you have to do that, but it's money well spent and it's helping the citizens of Cobb County.
Adjacent to the mental health program, I know you're doing a fatherhood program, some anger management courses. Can you talk about what is the shift in the detainee when they go through that? And then Sheriff, you can just talk about, beyond that, once they're released, what does that mean for the community?
Right.
Okay, the anger management, the fatherhood program, and the probation programs that we're doing are trying to change, really change a mindset and to prepare these people when they go out to be able to function on the street. When you have the anger management program, we've noticed that because we also oversee the courts, that they're oftentimes said you have to now go to an anger management program. So now that person that's just been released, doesn't have a job, has to go out and pay for a program. Mm-hmm. We're able to do that while they're in custody, and luckily for us, the courts are starting to recognize those courses, which satisfies that. When you talk about the fatherhood program, these people that are incarcerated are already separated from their loved ones, and there are usually issues prior to incarceration. Right. Now we're trying to show them how to bridge that gap so that they can be functional fathers once they are released and go back to their families.
And I just jump right in that as we prepare them to be good fathers, we also prepare them to have good employment. So we're working on different civic groups to help with employment opportunities from WorkSource Cobb, IBEW. And we're looking at meaningful jobs for employment, meaning jobs where they can make between $30 and $40 an hour with a trade that they can take and become a life-skilled employee for the rest of their life, making a great living, or I should say maybe a good living, to support their family. So that's what we're doing. So when they come out, we're also trying to assist in them getting a great job so they can be successful so they don't have to come back to my facility again.
$30 to $40 an hour. I think
Absolutely.
That's a pretty good living. That's far
Right.
above minimum wage,
Mm-hmm.
and that's really even above what's called a living wage.
Right.
So those are
and that's important to us because we want to make sure they have that high level of living to encourage them not to do what they did before to come back.
Right. Just as we wrap up, is there anything else that you all would like to talk about as it relates to mental health in the jail?
Yeah, I think Colonel can expand a little bit more. That we're bringing a lot of new technology into our facility. And I think technology is the way of the future for us. So we want to work smarter and not harder. So we bring in technology, and we have some devices coming in for our detainees or inmates that come in that will monitor their health statuses. And he explained a little bit more what they are, and also some GPS tracking devices so we know where they are. So if they have emergencies, we can respond quicker.
Yes, we have a wellness monitor that we're going to start applying to the inmates that are in our infirmary area, which is more the high-risk medical inmates. So what this apparatus will do is measure their heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygen levels so that we're alerted of any medical distress prior to that maybe eclipsing a more dangerous level. So having that in place gives us a jump start on being able to provide care.
So you can think of it as almost like a Fitbit,
Correct.
something like that
Right.
they would have on their wrist.
It's like a smartwatch.
Right.
Yeah, but
Minus-
it's tamper resistant.
yeah,
Right.
Minus being able to, call someone.
Right.
No.
Great.
Exactly. And on that same technology platform, we're also having technology improving for our deputies as well. They will also be wearing a new device on their belt. So if they have some issues, we'll be alerted as well. As they do their rounds, that device will capture their rounds. So as they check in cells, it'll automatically pick up, hey, they checked cell block hypothetically 1A, and it says it looked inside this door for 30 seconds, 45 seconds before they pass on to the next check count. So that gives us some added security that our deputies are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we are checking people in a timely fashion. We can pull those numbers up instantaneously with the new program we're going to.
Great. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, for sitting with the sheriff. Wonderful to have you as a guest, Colonel Atkins. Thank you all for tuning in. I know it's been a while since you've seen us. We're so happy to be back, and we will try to get back to a regular schedule. If you have any questions that you want to ask, or if you have a topic that you would like us to explore, send us an email, media@cobbsheriff.org. Wonderful to be with you. Thank you. Bye.